Hello and welcome to our build guide for the advanced poisonous concoction of bouncing setup. The poisonous concoction of bouncing is arguably a strictly better version of this very popular starter skill. You can throw only one flask at a time, but it will bounce a few times before dissipating, dealing damage each time. The direction of each recoil is not random. It will try to follow your enemies, which means much better overlapping than the original version. Each throw will consume 8 charges from your life flask to greatly improve the damage dealt with each explosion, which can be quite problematic. To overcome this feature, you will have to invest into flask charge generation as well as get proper life sustain without the use of flask. It can be built in a traditional way with the Pathfinder Ascendancy, but for a more advanced setup we recommend stacking affliction charges as a trickster. Each affliction charge grants you 8% more damage with ailments, and their maximum number is equal to your frenzy charge limit. The Trickster Ascendancy is the ideal choice for such a setup, as the Swift Killer Notable raises your frenzy charge limit by 2 and makes all your charges last significantly longer. It also offers the usual generic yet powerful notables, such as the Polymath that improves your damage for each unique mastery you pick, or the Soul Drinker, which grants you the Endless Energy Shield Leech. With minimal investments, your poisonous concoction will chain 7 times, which means up to 8 hits per single attack. It is an attack, but it disables your weapon slot and scales its damage with gem levels, similarly to spells. The amount of life recovered by your flask also affects your DPS. It is a hybrid build that uses both life and energy shield. To protect against the incoming attacks, you will have tons of evasion rating, while capped suppression will protect you from spells. You will also have plenty of physical damage mitigation from the endurance charges. The clear speed of this build is very good, especially if you include the Asenath's gloves to get chaining explosions. The damage potential is insanely high, but it takes a few seconds to fully ramp up, as is the case for most poison builds. This setup relies on many unique items, so the prices may vary. It is not recommended as a league starter, as many of them are in great demand during that time. If you have the boots, everything else is quite cheap. The frenzy stacking setup requires certain unique items that can't be replaced. Without it, the build loses over half of its damage, which is still more than enough for regular tier 16 mapping. Remaining unique items are subjective, but generally very good to have. Thanks to the Olesia's Delight, all your frenzy charge modifiers will be applied to affliction charges, which grants you 8% more damage with ailments per charge. Try to get one with a useful Corrupted Implicit, as the original one is not good. With the Ralakesh's Impatience boots, you will be able to benefit from both frenzy and affliction charges at once. You still need a way to generate affliction charges, which can be done via Poacher's Mark. The replica badge of the Brotherhood effectively grants you at least 7 additional endurance charges, which is a massive defensive boost. They will also contribute towards your damage and area of effect via Disciple of Unyielding Notable. The Restless Ward offers you tons of energy shield and evasion rating. It also greatly improves your movement speed and life regeneration. You should seek a Corrupted Implicit that would increase the gem levels of your main skill. The Asenath's Gentle Touch are the best gloves to use if you're mainly focused on quickly clearing maps. The additional explosions will annihilate whole packs of monsters, including rare enemies unfortunate enough to be caught in the explosions. The Snakebite Gloves grants you an insane amount of damage by improving your attack speed, accuracy rating, and damage over time multiplier. Use them if you prefer farming bosses. You should get a Corrupted Implicit that raises your frenzy charge limit. The Anathema Ring raises your curse limit based on the amount of your maximum power charges. With a minimal investment of 1 skill point on your passive tree, you will be able to use 4 curses. The Watcher's Eye is a very potent jewel. It can grant you many useful modifiers based on your aura setup. To boost your damage, look for modifiers related to the Malevolence aura, but the Flask sustain from the Precision can be more useful in prolonged fights. This jewel can add many amazing bonuses to nearby notables, such as increased damage with poisons, a chance to gain onslaught on kill, improve flash charge, sustain, or a chance to blind enemies on hit. It also grants you tons of dexterity, so you can use tattoos to replace most of your dexterity nodes with more useful modifiers. The very few rare items in your arsenal are also very straightforward. You should focus on getting maximum life, resistance, attributes, spell suppression, and enough accuracy to always hit your enemies. You will have tons of dexterity. You should use tattoos to replace all the dexterity nodes with attributes and resistances, which will make your gearing process even easier. You will need a lot of mana reservation efficiency here, which you can acquire via Essence of Loathing and Eater of Worlds Implicit. Other than that, look for maximum life, energy shield, resistances, attributes, or accuracy rating. Now on your shield, look for tons of maximum life, spell suppression, chance, and lacking resistances or attributes. You can also get a bonus to your attack speed or accuracy rating. It is possible to get an additional frenzy charge via implicit, but it will be very expensive. On your rare ring, look for maximum life and lacking resistances or attributes. You can also get bonuses to your chaos damage, accuracy rating, damage over time multiplier, or mana cost reduction here. Here you can increase your maximum life, cover lacking resistances and attributes, and bolster your damage. The best defensive modifiers are damage over time multiplier, poison duration, and increased damage with poisons. You can use the overflowing chalice flask to massively boost your life flask charge generation against dangerous enemies. Additionally, use the enkindling orb to improve its effectiveness. It is not needed during regular mapping. It can be replaced with any defensive flask you prefer. The healing from your life flask contributes to your DPS. It is still the best source of bleed immunity. Sometimes you will run out of charges, so it is recommended to have at least 2 of them. The other 2 flasks should be the Quicksilver flask, with bonus to attack speed, and the Quartz flask with the evasion rating bonus. Poisonous Concoction of Bouncing throws a chaining projectile that deals additional chaos damage by consuming your life flask charges. You can't use this skill if you wield a weapon. By default, it chains from the ground 2 times. The additional projectile modifiers increase the number of extra chains instead. You can use the greater volley to get even more bounces, but it's usually better to focus on improving your damage. The Grace is your main defensive aura that grants you a flat evasion rating and improves it further. With the Purity of Elements, you will become immune to all elemental ailments and get plenty of resistances, making your gearing process easier. The Malevolence is an offensive aura that improves your damage over time effects, such as your poisons. Precision is a very useful aura that improves your accuracy rating and enables certain Watcher's Eye modifiers. Try to keep it on a low level to reduce the amount of mana reserved. The Enlightened support and mana reservation efficiency on your helmet will be necessary to run all your auras. If you need accuracy from the Precision aura, consider using the Arrogance support. The Poacher's Mark allows you to generate affliction charges, improves your life and mana sustain, and provides a bit of physical damage against marked enemies. Thanks to this support gem, you will automatically apply this mark to any rare or unique enemy you hit with your attacks. The Shield Charge is your main movement skill that performs a swift charge toward the targeted location. It is not limited by cooldown but can't cross terrain gaps. It requires a lot of strength, so you can leave it at a low level. Additionally, you can make your charge significantly faster by improving your attack speed. Your main offensive hex is the Despair Curse, which greatly improves your damage by lowering the chaos resistances of affected enemies. The Temporal Chain's curse slows the action speed of your enemies and makes your poisons and other effects last longer on them. The Enfeeble is a defensive curse that lowers the damage of your enemies and makes them more likely to miss attacks against you. Use the Arcanist brand to apply all those curses to your enemies with a single button press. If you use the Asenath's gloves, you can cast the Despair manually instead. The Frostblink is your secondary movement skill that instantly teleports you in a short distance. You can use it without interrupting other actions. The bandits don't offer any useful rewards for this build. It is best to kill them all for the 2 additional passive points. For your major Pantheon power, we recommend choosing the Soul of Arakali, which reduces all damage taken from overtime effects. The Soul of Ralakesh is a universally good option, as with it you don't have to worry about wasting your life flask charges to remove bleeding. You can also use the Soul of Rislatha to slowly generate charges and improve their effectiveness when it is most needed. The Poisonous Concoction is a strong leveling skill, although it may feel weak without good life flask, sustain, and a 100% chance to poison. We recommend leveling with bow chaos damage over time skills, such as Toxic Rain for the best results, but if you prefer using your final skill right from the start, it is completely viable too. For more tips and the passive tree adjusted to the leveling process, visit our written guide on the website. In the final version of the passive tree, you will aim for all maximum frenzy charge, notables, leech, and the usual bonuses to your maximum life, flash charge generation, spell suppression, and accuracy rating. To boost your damage, you will pick up chaos, projectile, and poison notables. You should use 1 tattoo of the Kitava Shaman to get a small chance to inflict bleeding. That way you can enable the poison mastery that grants a considerable amount of chaos, damage over time multiplier. As a trickster, you are encouraged to pick as many unique masteries as possible, as they grant you a lot of damage via polymath notable. That is all for today's video. If you want to see more of our build guides, we encourage you to leave a like or subscribe to the channel. Have a good day and see you next time.